Liz Crosby here with the weekly astral forecast for the week of March 21st through the 28th. We have the sun moving into Aries, so I thought it would be the perfect time to start something new, start something fresh. And I haven't seen any astrologers talking about how to integrate the astral transits in the practice. So I'm going to do precisely that. This isn't necessarily about how to find a lover or how to make huge leaps and bounds in your career path. This is more so how to spiritualize matter using the astral transits in your favor. And so the sun is a big deal. That's the energy that's literally beaming down on us for a whole month. And Aries is associated with calcination in the alchemical process. So calcination, you can think of it as that initial emergence of fire as it moves into new territory, as it expands into new space, and it burns away impurities that otherwise would cause Kundalini energy to deviate. And so this is like the start button of the alchemical process. It is absolutely crucial that we integrate the importance of fire. And this is a huge one that I see again in the astrology realm, wherein the fitness aspect is kind of negated. Maybe it's briefly alluded to. Oh, go out for a jog and do a yoga class for therapeutic benefits. And there's a little bit more to it than that. So we embody sacred geometry for a reason, right? The sacred geometry allows the air elements to flow through the cardiovascular system. And it delivers the fire from solar plexus, right? The air element picks up the fire from solar plexus and distributes it throughout the body via the cardiovascular system as we're holding sacred geometric form. And so the fire also releases the water element, which wets the earth element, allowing us to expand and to grow into new space, to draw ever more complex sacred geometric formations with our bodies so that the air element can then move and navigate into those spaces in the vortex, which would otherwise not receive the light of solar plexus. So it's kind of a big deal. And of course, we know Aries is known for being very angst-ridden at times. They can be easily irritable. They can be confrontational and an extreme. They can want to start fights. And it's all useful information. I do love looking at some of those hilarious memes and little videos, TikTok videos about the different signs, and you always see Aries like punching someone in the face or something, right? Don't do that. But it shows the importance of that confrontational energy, right? We want to kind of almost pick a fight with the darkness in our sphere of existence. So keep that fight for the Battle of Kurukshetra, of course. That's just kind of funny to see the outward projection. But that being said, people that aren't integrating, be aware that there may be a slightly more irritable energy in the field, and people may be more easily triggered because that is the aspect of self that is being amplified as we move through Aries season. So watch for that and recognize right away that they're not redirecting that energy inwards, and it's not useful when it's redirected outwards. So try to neutralize that as much as you can. And again, save the fight for the Battle of Kurukshetra, for expanding consciousness, spiritualizing matter in your vessel, the spirit being the carrying agent for the fire element as it moves through the cardiovascular system. And so it will be joining Chiron in Aries, and Venus will be in Aries as well. So Venus is the feminine aspect. So all you ladies that are Aries or have a lot of Aries in your chart, people are going to subconsciously be drawn to you, attracted to you. Aries is so hot right now. For the feminine aspect. Of course, we have Mars and Gemini. We'll get to that. And Chiron in Aries, I just really want to talk about because the sun is going to move in. It's gonna really, really amplify that energy of the Chiron Aries transit. And so really to try and make it brief, because these are such potent downloads, and we'll dive deeper into all of them as we move through these various transits together. The best way to study astrology, I think, is to understand what's happening now and then compare that to how you are reacting to it. So Chiron is the wounded healer, and we are being asked to heal or heal thyself. And we know that we cannot reactivate new nadis without burning away the impurities first, because the air needs a passageway with which to navigate through. So if the fire, if it doesn't pave the path for the air to navigate, then we go nowhere. So you can become vastly aware, acutely aware of your distortions that are in your field right now, but unless you actually go in there and burn them up, they will remain, they will persist, they will continue to cause the Kundalini energy to deviate from the central axis, which causes unnecessary pain and suffering, and it attaches you to the wheel of karma, so you have to continue to keep reincarnating. So it doesn't matter how many Vipassana retreats you do, how many ayahuasca ceremonies you do, if you are completely negating the fire element, which is so, so crucial, right? And we see this time and time again. Look to the New Testament. Jesus is said to purify or bless with fire. And this is symbolic for the importance of the fire element in burning away the impurities so that we can allocate that energy back into the central axis for a root to crown connection, which is Christ consciousness or Krishna consciousness or Buddha consciousness. Pick your favorite. So crucial. We don't have to succumb to the old storylines, because the avatars, these different archetypes, Chiron being the immortal who is forever wounded because he is immortal and he can never heal himself, so he goes around and he heals others. You don't have to buy into that story, right? There's another story in which Hercules, he and Chiron appeal to Zeus for assistance in healing this wound that he has incurred thanks to Hercules. One of the obstacles that Hercules faces, right? He accidentally shoots him with the arrow. So this is symbolic for how if we appeal to source through a Herculean effort, right? We have to actually do the work and clear the vortex and hold the sacred geometric form, then we can send the Kundalini energy up through crown to connect to source consciousness. So don't see it as a victim mentality. See it as, yes, we have inherited culturally these massive Kundalini blockages, and we keep coming back in with the same blockages that continue to exacerbate themselves because they are not addressed. But we can rise above it if we choose to actively participate in our evolution of being. So one thing that this drives me crazy. So I'm hoping that this starts to become more common knowledge, but so often with the moon, we have a lot of moon ceremonies, and there's new moon ceremonies, there's full moon ceremonies. What is the deal with the moon? We see the lunar phases tattooed on people. We see lunar phases on jewelry, on t-shirts. It's a very marketable item because it looks really cool. It's a really pretty imagery to see the waxing and the waning, the new moon and the full moon in their entirety. So what's the deal with the moon? The gravitational pull is affected by the lunar phases, and it creates a degree of relativity within which we can utilize to better align, to continually perfect and refine our alignment through each lunar cycle. So how is it affected? Right? When the new moon occurs, we have both the sun and the moon in the same sign, which causes the gravitational pull to intensify because these two massive planetary bodies are amplified in one direction. So the new moon is the best time to set your alignment. This is why you shouldn't be too hard on yourself about your practice come new moon time. The gravitational pull will also make it vastly apparent, abundantly clear, where there are misalignments, because you may fall out of postures you don't normally fall out of, right? Maybe that posture that you think is really aligned actually isn't so aligned. So utilize that information. And this is how you plant seeds. This is how you set intentions. And yes, law of attraction, vision boards, those are universal laws too, but you cannot negate law of karma, which is cause and effect, and also the importance of the earth element. The earth element still matters. Even the word matter means matter, and they are written and spelled the exact same way for a reason. And this is huge. We want to think that our bodies are not us, and and to a certain extent that's true, right? Everything is a holographic projection, and that includes the physical body. So we shouldn't be attached to the physical body in terms of good looks, or the various culturally inherited ideals regarding beauty. We want to utilize the body as a projector that we can align and to change the holographic projected reality, right? God is in the spine. The cerebral spinal centers, the chakras, are each in the spinal column, save third eye, which is in the head, right? It's in the pineal gland. So this is not to negate the physical body. The physical body is still very important. I'll get to that when I get to the Uranus-Taurus transit, but and also when I get to where the moon is. Let's go there. All right, so the moon is in Gemini right now, and so we just went through a new moon phase. Hopefully you were practicing during it. I'm getting this started a little bit. I wanted to actually start this last week during the new moon, but I'm excited to start it this week because, again, we moved into Aries, fresh start, and also we are moving towards the full moon in Libra. So you will feel how the gravitational pull will lessen in its intensity as we move towards the full moon. So it's you can just start whenever you want to start. Just because we passed the new moon doesn't mean that all of the possibilities for intention setting and refinement of your alignment, better proprioception, bodily awareness is all missed. It's happening all the time, right? Gravity is happening all the time. This is why it just also, it's one of my biggest pet peeves when people ask me, so when did you start practicing yoga? And or when they separate yoga out from other disciplines and movement modalities. We are all practicing yoga all the time. We're all existing all the time. Gravity is happening all the time, right? Gravity doesn't take a break. Subtle body is affected by gravity. So by us choosing to not participate in embodiment of sacred geometry, it doesn't mean that we've been able to pull ourselves out of that equation. We're still affected by gravity. We're still experiencing stagnant energy buildup. And that in and of itself is still yoga, because you're still witnessing how that stagnant energy buildup is causing your holographic projected reality to change. So it's happening all the time, and whether you choose to actively participate with these energies or not is up to you. And hopefully you do decide to actively participate. So Gemini is pretty loaded right now, and this is another reason why I wanted to start today. Is Gemini is the intellectual of the zodiac. It is the thinker. Gemini is associated with synthesis fixation in the alchemical process. And synthesis fixation, again, is the picking up of this information. So the fire of Aries, calcination, has now moved into new space, right? It's confronted new dark. It's illuminated new space. And now the air element, well, of course, we have Taurus, congelation, and then Aries comes in, or Gemini comes in and extracts that information, takes it back through the cardiovascular system to the lungs to be furthermore burned up by the solar plexus, which would be Leo, digestion, and then processed through Virgo, organization, analysis, and so on and so forth, through the inner technology, witnessing and understanding this information regarding our space holding. And we're kind of taking two storylines, because there is the previously held space and the more expanded space, presumably your expanding consciousness in your field. And so Gemini takes back both storylines, which is why sometimes Gemini can be considered to be kind of two-faced and also manipulative at times. Gemini is associated with the hand, Manus. And Manus, obviously you can see how that the seed syllable of Manus can be juxtaposed with the word manipulation. And so the very active manipulation is considered to be a shadow aspect of Gemini, but you can also see how when the energy that surrounds manipulation is redirected inwards, it can be very beneficial, and it actually can be very necessary, right? We do need to manipulate our gunas or elements so that we can rearrange them into higher vibrational frequency formations. And so the North Node is also in Gemini, Mars is in Gemini. Gemini is super lit up right now. And I've been talking about this too with my yogis, so I'll share it with you now. Gemini, again, associated with the hand. The hand has been very useful throughout human history in the transference of information. So sharing this intellectual energy with the whole grid. And before we were writing with quills and pens, we were engraving stones, still using hands. And now it's more so the keyboard. But now in information overload age, it's time to actually integrate this information. And the wrist took a hit in sacrificing itself for this noble pursuit of transference of information, right? The wrist has become the weakest link, and we need to actually provide our hands and our wrists with structural support as we learn to grow their resilience again, their strength and flexibility. And that being hand balancing canes, handstand boards. You can actually use just a piece of wood on the floor, or hand balancing blocks. These become absolutely crucial as we learn to excavate and unearth these parts of the self, these parts of our sphere of existence, them being handstands, but not just two-handed handstands, one-handed handstands also. So if we're doing single standing leg postures, we should also be doing single arm standing postures. Arm, leg, arm, head, Allah. And we want to shine like the sun. We've got to be able to send energy out all extremities with equality. So this is going to be really, really expounded upon when the moon moves into Libra, because Libra is all about equality. So feel with the moon as we move closer and closer to its fullest potential, and feel how the energy gets lighter. Now is a prime time to start an inversion practice, because you're going to have much more success. And if you have been practicing, you will see that you might find you're inhabiting spaces you've never held before, maybe certain variations you've never tried all of a sudden open up. So it's kind of a fun little open portal as we move closer to the full moon. Keep practicing during the new moon, even though it can be frustrating. Again, Lego the ego as we move through the new moon, and we'll talk about this more as we move into the waning aspects. But as we wax, really enjoy this time because it's a fun, energetic buildup. So we have Mercury in Pisces now. Mercury is, and start to see all of the planets as magnifying glasses, right? They are magnifying the karmic debris in each our own spheres of existence so that they can be better understood. As we go about clearing them and processing them, each of the planets will let you know about them. They're kind of like teachers. So Mercury, again, is associated with the intellect and our ability to utilize mental faculties. So it will let you know about your karmic debris in your field from a very intellectual standpoint. And it can be very blunt and very precise. So when it's in Pisces, which is in its fall, its detriment, I think this is so because of, again, our culturally inherited blockages, which predominantly makes it difficult for us to, from a logical perspective, accept our distortions in our field because they're unseen largely. This is metaphysical stuff that we're talking about. And I do believe that as we evolve, then some of these like certain signs in which planets experience a detriment or fall in, we're going to experience more harmony. So it's utilizing some of these psychic abilities to process karmic debris. So again, we still have a little bit of Piscean energy. You utilize this Piscean energy. You can process karmic debris with remote viewing, astral projecting. You can go up to Akashic and come back down and experience true empathy with all parties involved, processing and understanding how the karmic debris in your field was attracting or repulsing, revolting against certain aspects of the hologram that you're intermingling with and exchanging information with. So you kind of have these super psychic abilities when you move into Pisces with Mercury. So utilize that. And of course, Pisces is also associated with sleep and dream time. So use your dream time to process karmic debris. This is the perfect time to lucid dream. There's still Neptune in Pisces for a while, so we can still utilize that for lucid dreaming, processing and analysis of karmic debris. Make sure that you're still expanding, so you have something to process when you go to sleep, right? So you want to keep doing, and of course, I just sleep so much better when I know that I've done absolutely everything that I can to eat as many karmas as I possibly can. My head definitely rests easier at night when I know that I've done absolutely everything possible to hold space in the sphere. And knowing that everything else is a projection, a holographic projection of that. And you can't eat all the karmas in one session. So that's part of the fun of it too. It's a slow burn. It has to be a slow burn because we have to process the karmic debris. As aforementioned, Venus is moving into Aries. So again, taking the initiative, and it is the feminine sign, but even as women, we can still really embody that fire and burn away impurities in a beautiful way. Make the Tandava dance beautiful and graceful. So as to, and sometimes it's almost like that beauty that comes from Venus, right? Both Taurus and Libra associated with Venus. Those are the home constellations for Venus. And they both are very polished and beautiful. They're known to be very beautiful signs. So how can we make our internal fire dance beautiful? And in so doing, finding some of this beauty and this grace in our dancing into new space, it allows us to actually hold even more space, to optimize our space holding. So think about how Iyengar, when he first came across and taught yoga, I think Patabi Joyce too, there's a lot of like hopping into postures. It's very like clunky, right? We want some of that beautiful artistry, the beauty that comes from moving from posture to posture and transitioning, and finding all of these different lines, all of these different curves that come about from flowing into shapes, from other shapes. I know it kind of sounds silly, but that's what it's all about. It's about embodying geometry. So I think of Iyengar and I think of the Sri Yantra, but you kind of want to also think of the flower of life and all those different curves that come with it. So yeah, I love Venus in Aries. And again, all you Aries ladies, you're so hot right now. So if you want to capitalize on that, if you are dating, then that's the sign that people I think are more so subconsciously drawn to in terms of the feminine aspect of self. Mars is, as aforementioned, in Gemini. So we need to work smarter, not harder. Again, as aforementioned, give yourself the structural stability that you need so that you can start to navigate into one-handed handstands, planches with grace and ease. Take ownership of your karmas, utilize your mental faculties for the benefit of all beings instead of for the manipulation of other beings for self-seeking gain. And we know that the rearrangement of our gunas is what allows us to run more energy, which benefits all beings. Ishvara Pranatanat. So this is a really prime time. I think that we've got a couple more weeks with Mars in Gemini. So utilize that information that's beaming down to us, through us, from Mars and Gemini for the benefit of all beings. And again, instead of taking the fight without, take it within, the battle of Kurukshetra. I think so often the ego is given a bad rap in our culture, right? We're always telling ourselves, like, kill the ego. The ego serves a purpose. And in yogic philosophy, the ego is called ahamkara. And the ego, the character in the Bhagavad Gita that represents the ego, is actually shot with multiple arrows and he is incapacitated, but he still watches over the battlefield as the battle takes place. And he doesn't die until the sun sets over the battlefield and the battle is won, of course, by Krishna and Arjuna, who are symbolic for solar plexus and air element spirit. So utilizing, again, our mental faculties to arrange ourselves so that the fire from solar plexus can infiltrate all space. Of course, again, hitches a ride with the air element through the cardiovascular system, which is why Krishna has his chariot, or rides on Arjuna's chariot with him. So this is all metaphysical, alchemical metaphor. But again, we don't want, and this is one of the ways that the dark is trying to fight back. Do you see how they do that? It's so cunning. I love it though. Like I'm learning to love the darkness. We are the darkness too. And I got to give it props for its self-preservation tactics. But that's another little self-preservation tactic now, isn't it? So we do want to actually utilize the ego. The ego serves a purpose in the reconstruction of the temple for spirit. And in so doing, the ego will continue to burn up in the rays of the sun. Of course, the fire of solar plexus being the rays of the sun. So it's kind of interesting because the ego, it facilitates that function of allowing the sun to shine into more space. But in so doing, the ego will slowly diminish and we will continue to merge with the true self, the one self, feeling our way into single consciousness. So really stoked on Mars being in Gemini. It's a nice fresh breath of air after Taurus, which is a little slower. It's okay. It's definitely way slower in earth signs. So moving on to, we still have Saturn and Jupiter in Aquarius, which is huge. I know that there was that conjunction and everybody tripped balls on. Of course, it's a big deal and it looked really beautiful in the night sky, but they're still both in Aquarius. So Saturn and Jupiter are going to continue to square anything and everything that comes into a fixed sign. So we have the Uranus and Taurus transit as well. So that is an ongoing square throughout the year pretty much. I mean, it's not always perfect, but it's always there. There's going to always be that kind of consistent right angle between those. So, and anytime anything moves into Scorpio or Leo, will also have the fixed square kind of making its presence known because, again, those are fixtures. Uranus is moving really slow, as are Jupiter and Saturn. Jupiter takes a year in each sign, Saturn 4 years in each sign, and Uranus will be in Taurus until 2026. So that one is the furthest out, moving super slow motion. So I'm going to jump right to Uranus really quickly because I do want this to be a bite-sized chunk, but this is a really big deal. So Uranus is associated with Aquarius, which is the fixed air sign of the zodiac, associated with Father Sky in the Greek pantheon. So Father Sky gets castrated, right? Uranus gets castrated by Cronus. And Cronus is Greek pantheon. So this is kind of funny. Just bear with me. Cronus is Saturn in Roman pantheon. And Saturn represents hard work, discipline, utilizing third dimension, time-space continuum to process karmic debris. Thus, its affiliation or association with the devil, or also the Grim Reaper, right? Father Time. So we utilize third dimension to process karmic debris, to hold space. And Saturn has those big, massive rings too. So it almost kind of reminds me of like those hats in school way back in the day, right? Kind of reminding us that we need to actually be disciplined. We need to actually do the work and hold that space, because those rings will send some really interesting waveforms that will ricochet and refract off of your distortions and make those distortions abundantly clear, which is why they say that when you experience your Saturn return, it hits like a 2x4, because we have been so indoctrinated into the system of just standing and sitting upright, neglecting that we are children of God and that we can reorient ourselves in relationship to Mother Earth and Father Sky, because God also has a gender principle, hermetic principles. We've been negating that just entirely, and we spend all of our time seated in desks through grade school, and then in cubicles through our adult life as working parts of the community in a 9-to-5. So of course we've negated our true job, which is holding space in our sphere and illuminating that space. And it's okay. It's going to be interesting to see how we redirect our focus as a community, as a collective, as different nation states, and how we are all able to work together. And we have the distribution of resources to do it. So there is that. We don't have to completely die unto the patriarchal system immediately. The patriarchal system can facilitate its function, its purpose in distributing resources so that we can get the supplies that we need to focus on holding space in each our own spheres of existence. So Uranus in Taurus is a really big deal because Uranus, associated with fixed air, is in now Taurus, which is fixed earth. So it is letting us know that we need to get the earth element there to get the air element there. What I've been saying this whole podcast episode, if we don't get the earth element there, then the cardiovascular system cannot deliver spirit. So it's the body and the blood. We need to get the blood there. Simple as that. And if we don't do the work, if we are not disciplined, then what happens? Cronus comes along and he castrates us. So this is symbolic, very much similar to Osiris in Egypt. We are castrated symbolically in that the Kundalini energy cannot move all the way up through the chakra system, so it is severed. And we see this also in Hindu mythology, right? The worship of Shiva's Shiva Lingam. This is, again, symbolic for the Kundalini energies that flows through the central axis, not necessarily the male genitals. And it's always kind of funny because when people go to India and they come back, they're like, oh my gosh, they were literally worshiping these like phallic statues. So I was really surprised. And I'm like, yeah, that's symbolic. Again, don't get sidetracked. So easy to do sometimes, especially with tantric. But we're talking about actually being able to conduct Kundalini energy. So, and similarly to Osiris does get his, not his original member back, but he gets a new member back. And it's gold. So gold, the binomial nomenclature for gold being AU, which is the seed syllable for crown chakra, which is symbolic for a completion, sending that Kundalini energy all the way through crown chakra. So we need to reorient our focus, and we don't have to completely die unto these various external activities that we've grown accustomed to, but we do need to transmute them. We do need to redirect them. So again, if you're really into sports, you can think of this as like your new touchdown, right? Or instead of ball sports, it's about being the ball instead of chasing the ball and trying to shoot a ball through a hoop, right? The hoop now is crown chakra. That is the halo. It is our portal up to universal consciousness. And this is so crucial. We need to get upside down to do it. Uranus is, I just think it's hilarious because Uranus is the sky god, and we need to get our anuses up in the sky. Because in order to send that fire from solar plexus through the uppermost chakras for processing our karmic debris, we do need to send the fire through a foundation, which is in the upper half. Therefore, inversions become quite the necessity. You don't have to necessarily learn how to do one-handed handstands. Some of us aren't going to go there this lifetime. But just start getting upside down, even if it means just down dog, even if it's just L-shape against the wall, even if it's literally just lying on the side of your couch and letting your head go lower than your heart space. Because you want to see the oxygenated blood flow as the delivery system for prana vayu, which is life force energy. And also it catalyzes that picking up of the stagnant energy so that it can be released. So it purifies as well. Just getting upside down so that you can run more oxygenated blood flow down to the upper half, especially pineal gland. Yes, getting rid of fluoride in your water or in your toothpaste is going to be beneficial, but even just literally getting upside down so that you're flushing out that space with oxygenated blood flow goes a long way. And that is so, so crucial. And so I know that I've come up against a lot of resistance in the yoga community, and I totally understand why. I was trying to get a team of yoga instructors together to do this work with me, because I thought it would be more fun to do this work, because obviously working into one-handed handstand, it's hours of staring at the floor, staring at the wall, or, you know, it's a lot of time spent alone. And there's some funny videos actually online about it, the isolation that kind of comes from choosing to devote yourself to this work. Thankfully, I wasn't able to get a team together to work on it. It's okay. And there was actually some other stuff that came up, and that's all forgiven. I understand not wanting to look at karmic debris. There's some gnarly stuff, and I looked at it, so I understand why I don't want to look at it. But luckily, I'm able to practice astral projection, and I can connect to universal consciousness, Akashic records, and it makes things a lot more exciting. So I'm not just staring at the floor, although it is kind of slower going than perhaps the hand balancing community. You guys are just like zipping along super fast, and big stuff comes up for me, so I'm having to take it a little bit slower and process that karmic debris as it comes up. And but I'm so grateful, so grateful that there are human beings on planet Earth that are doing this work, that are holding this space. And so I know how to create the infrastructure internally to hold that space. So starseeds, it's time to sprout into the flower of life, not negating the physical body, right? Crown chakra is thought, and we move from subtle to gross, and all of the elements are just varying densities of thought forms that are on spin cycles. So light, sound, and we have heart chakra air, solar plexus fire, sacral chakra water, root chakra is earth. So the earth element does indeed matter. And we have until 2026 to play our cards right and rearrange the earth element into divine order and unearth our royalty, which is flower of life. Again, not negating any orientation with respect to gravity. So I'm finally making this video. I've been so nervous about it because I have been so heavily stigmatized in the yoga community. Again, it's so popular to say, I am not this body, and I am all about my spiritual practice, and I'm not attached to the physical form. And then write off the physical practice, and we can't do that. That's illogical. You must see how that's illogical, because the body delivers the spirit. So the body and the mind are very much cohesive and interchangeable. And of course, we are not this body, as I mentioned before. It is still a holographic projection, but if you disown your body to that great of an extent, then you resign yourself to living in lower vibrational frequencies. So why do that? It's a darkness ploy. So see it for the darkness ploy that it is. The darkness trying to preserve itself. So I'm not sure if I want to go here, but okay, yeah, let's do it. So we are all the archetypes. Saturn is also associated with Satan. Sounds very similar, right? The word Saturn or Satan, it has the number 10 in it. So 10 has two numbers in it. It has a 1 and a 0. The 1 is the very phallic masculine energy, and the 0 is the very feminine energy. And it's about being able to conduct that energy in both formations. So underneath both the cross and the ankh, we have, right, this being like the plane of the ground and Mother Earth, and then energy that shoots straight down. And then it either forms, again, a straight line at the top, or the ankh. I can't really make it with my arm very well, but you understand a circle. So that would be, as it's put in the book of Revelation, locusts and scorpions, being able to conduct the energy in a straight line and also being able to bend. So again, exemplifying both the Sri Yantra and the flower of life, that is the direction that we're headed in. And how do we, like Christ says, get Satan to get behind thee, right? Get behind thee, Satan, by doing the work. So again, as Saturn represents, doing the work. And we have in tarot even the devil card with the two lovers in chains, but the chains are very loose because it's just a simple shift in focus, right? Noticing that maybe we've been chasing after a lover, and in so doing, we've been putting ourselves on the back burner and not doing this work to hold space in the vortex, in the field. And so the lovers truly are within. And I'm not saying that we should completely get rid of love, right? But maybe we can come together in awareness of self and awareness that we are androgynous beings energetically, instead of completely disassociating from the other gender, or whichever gender you have more of an affinity to, whichever sexuality you are, and in so doing, not embodying both aspects of self. And so it's so crucial that we find a balance between the genders throughout the chakra system, find strength, flexibility, and create that. And we need to physically embody both the 1 and the 0 to pass through the eye of the needle, right? We need to become the eye of the storm. Shiva is the storm, dancing the Tandava dance, becoming the divine particle. And so now is the time is ripe, and I'm going to continue to do these weekly astral transits so that we can kind of divulge and expound upon what the planetary bodies are saying to us about our evolution as a species collectively. And again, it's time. And with Uranus and Taurus transit, I should have put this video out so long ago, because Uranus has been in Taurus for a while now. But again, I was very fearful of being excommunicated or stigmatized for making such claims. And we are moving into the age of Aquarius, so I know I'm kind of having to be that fool. And I love how Nietzsche even has the fool running back into the village with a flame. So it's like, here I am, and it's Aries season, right? Like, it's time to meditate on the fire of solar plexus and to distribute it throughout the vortex and do this work. So do the work, get upside down if you can this week, and keep holding space in as many corners. Challenge yourself to get into unique orientations that you haven't infiltrated yet, and enjoy this slow, gradual unearthing, because it has to be a slow burn. We're not going to just snap our fingers and end up in 5D, right? We have to work through 3D. We have to go through it. We have to actually process the karmic debris. And there's so much fun and joy in that. I think sometimes when we talk about the Great Purge, it seems kind of almost like a purgatory, or like we're being persecuted or something. It's not that. It's gonna be so much fun, because this process of clearing karmic debris is actually really, really exciting. And it's one of my favorite things to do. It brings me the most joy, because I can see how it does energetically affect, in a benevolent way, all of existence, right? All of us are interconnected. So in the full moon, there is going to be a kite forming. So not only do we have an air trine forming between the air signs, because the moon will move into Libra, we will have the North Node in Mars and Gemini still, and we'll still also have Saturn and Jupiter in Aquarius, but also we're going to have the Sun in Aries, and that creates 2 sextiles, so it creates a little kite. So Sun and Venus both at the same degree as well. So this is huge. This is really big. I'm going to say it. Kobe Bryant has been really, really on my case about doing all this stuff. So he was the one that really got me to get the pole. I didn't want to get the pole because it cost so much. But he was like, hey, if you want to embody the ball, if you want to be the ball, you need that central axis in physical form so you can start doing the work. He was really, really pivotal in inspiring me to get the rig. I got the aerial rig now. It's on its way. It'll be here in about, thanks to the current climate, about 3 months, but that's okay. We need that decompression. So if you're just working one-handed handstands, all that compression work needs to be counterbalanced. Do some hanging. If you don't have a hanging apparatus to work with, such as silks, lyra, straps, rope, rings even, any of the sort, then just hang from a parallel bar. We need to start really considering morphing together, fusing calisthenics and contortion. Again, if you look to India, the Indian yogis are holding a profound amount of space. The West is attached to the asanas that allow us to continue to feed various dark spots in our field. And so we need to directly confront those dark spots, right? Aries season. So here we are. Here I am. I'm confronting us. It's time. It's time to rise up. It's time to evolve again. It's time to hold space. And we can't displace it. We can't be like Jim Carrey and Bruce Almighty and just give it back to Morgan Freeman. We actually have to do this work. So again, I'm kind of resigned to taking my time. I don't want to do it super fast. I'll probably take another lifetime here, and I'm okay with that. But the reason why I mentioned Kobe too is there are so many 8s in this full moon that he really wanted to mention. So I'm gonna mention him. The sun will be at 8 degrees. The moon will be at 8 degrees. Of course, we still have Uranus in Taurus at 8 degrees, and Venus will be at 8 degrees. So we have a little cosmete happening. That's a lot of 8s, and he wore the 8 for quite a while. So he was just wanting to say hello, and that he's still playing an active role to make sure that humanity does indeed evolve. He came in massive when he first passed away. He let me know right off the bat that he was all earth signs, each of the earth signs. And one of those deals where I went to go and look it up on Google to make sure. And sure enough, his sun is in Virgo, his moon is in Taurus, and his rising is Capricorn. So he's playing a big part, a big role in this. And we are going to see humanity start to take its first steps towards active involvement in its evolution again. I'm so excited. So I'm going to close it up here. Again, all planets are direct, so now's the time to get yourself all of the resources that you need to ensure your ongoing continual investigation of self. Again, like I mentioned, I got the aerial rig recently, so you can get those things that you need in your external environment with more ease when there aren't a lot of retrograde planets. But come summertime, we're going to start to see the retrogrades come into full effect. So get those resources that you need, and it's go time. Right? We're getting all the green lights from the universe, from our solar system to start doing this work. And those of you that are like me in the yoga realm that are facing scrutiny from fellow yogis for doing this much work on inversions, and I'll be completely honest with you guys, in the hand balancing community they say 3 to 6 hours a day, 6 days a week, so usually just one rest day, and that's a lot. And so I can understand why we've put this off for so long, but we can't put it off anymore. The time for putting it off is over, and if you want to put it off, that's okay. I know that there's some people that deny gravity, and I don't know how you can do that, but maybe even just denying that gravity affects subtle body. Sure, that's fine. Let them deny it. There's nothing they can do to actually persecute you, and if they're full on not willing to accept the laws of physics, and then maybe it's not the best match. So we need to start connecting with people that are not still in denial about physics, right? We need to start connecting with people that are willing to do the work without having to be persuaded. And there are some people that are committed to misunderstanding this information because they want to preserve their distortions. And that's okay, because the Shaktipat is coming, and it will come faster if more of us are doing the work, which is why I'm putting out this information. And I will continue to do as such as we move through it, because again, I'm not hearing anyone in the astrology realm talking about this stuff as much as I would like. And again, even down to like simple stuff like full moon, new moon, I have not heard anyone say that, like that the gravitational pull affects and therefore it helps you to refine your alignment and your proprioception. That needs to get out there. So if that's the only thing that you gather from this video, that's a lot, and start to notice it in your practice, which is why you should do just a little tiny bit every day. It doesn't have to be huge, robust leaps and bounds, right? We don't need to take quantum leaps into deeper depths of being. I mean, you can if that brings you joy, but just a little tiny bit of investigation every day so you can see how the gravitational pull affects. And again, it's kind of like a litmus test. This degree of relativity is pure magic. So if you know how to work with the moon, that is huge. And we'll dive deeper into all of these other transits as we go along. But now's the time, as we move closer to the 28th, we're going to move right into that kite, and it's time to take flight. So hopefully this was useful for you, and I will continue to, I'm sure, perfect as we go along. All right, I hope that you have a lovely day, and namaste. I'll talk to you next time.